It's funny how sometimes when we think that this big responsibility that's coming up or the life changes that are going to add so much to our plate that we're going to have less time to do things and investigate this. But there's something so quirky about this whole process that sometimes the stress or just the massive change of situations like that sometimes is what like pushes us pushes us off the edge and we wake up, so it's so unpredictable what conditions and what circumstances in life are going to trigger shifts for us. And it's not always how we think it will play out. So much of this is not always how we think it will play out. What you're referring to is doubt. And it's a little more than a thought. It's not only a thought. It's a way of interacting with thoughts. But if you look really close at the mechanism of doubt, it disguises holding on as the concern for letting go. The underlying belief would be in that assumption is that I do want to let go. But if we look really close, there's a part of us that doesn't want to let go, and that's normal. There's a part of us that actually does not want to go completely into the unknown. There's a part of us that wants to keep its bearings and its orientation. And it's simply because it's afraid, not because it has a real reason, because it can't actually know. The part of us, the part of our thought process and so forth that doesn't want to just completely let go, especially early on, it's not like it actually is using correct information. It doesn't know. It can't see that, right? So the world of thought can't see what's beyond the world of thought. The world of seeming division of thought, the artificial way of the thoughts divide up the world, is not really real. But through that paradigm, it's very hard to see what's undivided. In fact, the thoughts themselves can't see it, but you can, or we wouldn't be having this conversation. There's something completely beyond that is operating right here. It's looking through your eyes right now. And that's what's driving this whole thing for you, for all of us. And that's the beauty of this, that the doubt itself really doesn't have nearly as much power as it thinks it does, or as it would seem that it does. It's a little bit like background noise. But it is a bit of an area that we can kind of hold on to if we don't see really clearly what our actual motivations are, and that there is a sort of competing agenda there in the thoughts. The thoughts always have competing agendas. That's the world they live in. There's always, I want this, but I don't want it that way. I want it like this. So in the mind, it's like you can only have one thing maybe, but then you have to leave everything else out. But to realization, it's like, oh my God, everything is already here. There's no need to want anything at all. You kind of live in two different worlds in a sense of perception. So just really seeing into that can really help. Like, okay, well, let's follow that doubt down farther and actually feel into where is it coming from, or let's take it to its logical conclusion, right? Like, do I really think I have the power to keep myself awake or asleep right now? Like, or is that just some random thought that sort of says that, and then my attention's moving to it, and then it comes again and my attention moves to it again. So if you really feel into it, you might actually see that it doesn't have nearly the power it seems to, or you can sort of deconstruct it logically and just see that even a single doubt is just something that's staring into the abyss and just going, I don't like that. I don't know what that is, but I don't like it. And you can't know what it is. Like that part of yourself that collects information and data, it just can't know what's in the abyss, because it looks at the world and then tries to divide it, which is impossible, but it works for its own system. So it can never, when it's staring into the abyss, so it makes up scary stories, it gets confused or disoriented sometimes. Just see that that's just how it is, and it's fine. But you don't need its permission to step off that edge either. It's not about that. It doesn't matter how those thoughts are aligned in any given moment, the moment of the shift or awakening or whatever. Doesn't matter what in the world is going through your mind. Often it's when the doubt mass is worse than it ever was. That's often when you just get tired of it. It's like, okay, well, let's just find out what's on the other side of that veil. So all of those approaches are helpful. Like you look into the doubt, deconstruct it, use logic on it, because its own language is logic. And if you really take it to its logical conclusion, often it doesn't make sense, right? How can it know? Is there something about thoughts that are in control of whether I'm awake or asleep, or it doesn't even make sense, right? And feeling into that edge, there's something that it's like some part of you wants to step beyond, or it already is beyond, wants to meet itself. But the thoughts, as long as we believe them, kind of give us a little rock to hold on to. And just seeing that and feeling it and knowing there's only one way to go through, and that's to really let go.